Chris here, another quick tip for you all. In this video, we are going to take a look at the new Citadel Contrast paints and how it pertains to a nice big Seraphon model with all sorts of little scales on them. This model has been primed with the new Citadel Wraithbone spray. And so as you can see here, the model's already assembled and ready to go. And of course, this is going to be a fairly quick demonstration of the contrast paints. We're going to use Allenden Yellow. We're using a large base coating brush here. This is the Citadel brush. And so basically really quickly here, we are going to do a kind of, the inspiration for this color scheme is a bit of a poison frog kind of color scheme. So it's kind of the reverse really. It's yellow on the belly with a blue on top. You know, just it's a basic inspiration for this color scheme. So as you can see, I grab a fairly heavy amount into the bristles and then begin laying it down onto the model. Now, the fairly generous amount of the color I'm allowing to fall within the recesses, but I'm kind of drawing it, the color towards where I want it to get brighter, which is towards kind of the midline on the body, where basically I'm going to have another color laid on the top half of the model. You can see here I'm laying it fairly heavy so that it falls into the recesses. The way contrast works is that it works kind of like the shade wash, if you're very familiar with the shade wash, where basically the color will fall into the recesses but will stay quite bright on the high points. And that's the quality we want to really take advantage of when we're really kind of working quickly through a model like this. And as you can see there, it's really, really heavy as I initially lay it down, but as I work my way through other details, I draw that excess out and use it elsewhere. I just really only want that deeper color to appear within any of the recesses, the little folds and stuff like that. And kind of like a glazing, where basically where you finish your brush stroke is kind of where the paint will finish much heavier. And so as you can see there, you can pretty much move your way through fairly quickly. Here it is once it's all dry, and you can see it, you know, it already looks pretty darn good as is. And so we will move on to other areas. You can see some other areas on the model. I was a little bit aggressive with my application of the yellow. You can see kind of on the hand and everything like that. And we're going to use Talsar blue. This is the contrast blue. It's a really beautiful cyan. It's a really nice bright color. And I'm basically going to start up closer towards the scales of the spine and draw the color down towards where it's going to meet up with the yellow. And a big caution here when using these colors, because they are a transparency, they will blend visually with the color that you've already laid down. So for example, with this blue, you will see where it runs on top of the yellow, they will mix visually and become green. If anybody knows their basic color theory, knows that blue and yellow make green. And you're going to see that in a lot of areas. Now, if that doesn't bother you, then great. If it does bother you, well, we can correct it and fix it later on, which I will show in this video. So you can see as I'm laying it onto the hand here, and I'm laying it on fairly heavily, but again, I kind of bring it and feather it out towards the other colors. But I do want the hands to be a little bit darker. You can see on the hand there now it's a little bit green looking, right? Because again, the colors are transparent. So if you really want to have these two colors right next to each other, but don't want to have them mixing, then you have to be very deliberate in your application of the color. Here it is. Once it's dry, I'm going to come back in with another layer of Talsar blue. And basically where I'm going to draw this just closer towards the spine colors. I just want to create a slight gradient. Now there are other ways we can create this gradient on the model, but I figured a nice quick way of showing getting multiple tones within the same color. And again, that's really what the fantastic thing about these colors are, is that because they are a transparency, the more layers you build up, the deeper and richer the color becomes. Which is why it's very important to use the brighter primers. For anybody who's been wondering if this will work on darker primers, this kind of effect will be lost on dark primers, very dark tones. Next, we're going to come in with some Leviathan blue. This is a nice deep dark blue, and we're going to have a bit of fun here as we are going to create a nice little pattern on his back. This is really just more for aesthetics. This is This could have been done with basically any color, really, even an opaque color, but because it is these new contrasts, it will fall within the recesses as we work around, and of course it does blend visually with the colors underneath it. So you get nice, deep, dark tones, and also giving you some high points as well. And you can see I'm kind of doing this kind of striping along the spine and everything like that, and I'm just going for something kind of fun here. Again, you can build up the layers on top if you are going to do this kind of thing with your color schemes. I do recommend that you start off with your brighter colors first and then begin to work darker. And you can see here on the hand where we had those green tones, you can see how this Leviathan blue just sits right on top and just completely just gets rid of that color blend. You don't really see it anymore. It's still there, but I mean, you know, it's really kind of difficult to see now because this deep color. And of course, this works for a lot of the deeper colors, like some of the browns, the black, stuff like that. And again, you can see I'm not taking my time with this. I'm actually being very heavy-handed and quite quick with it. Volupus pink, Volupus pink, anyway. And basically, I'm just going to apply this fairly aggressively into the those little tendons in the corners of the mouth, as well as the interior of the mouth. And we're also going to apply this around the teeth and the gum line of the mouth, just to give us some visual interest and such. You can see, again, this stuff really does apply very, very nicely when you do apply it fairly heavily, being pretty generous in your application, because, again, it is sort of like applying your base coat and shade wash at the same time, as you may or may not notice through the application of these colors here. And you can see the mouth's fully colored. And so next, we are going to come in with some Wraithbone. Now, with this is the same tone as the primer, as the Wraithbone primer. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to slap a little bit onto our palette. We're going to grab a brush, and basically we're going to go around and clean up some of the areas. Like, see on the back of that heel of the foot, and see where the green is on the sole of the foot. I don't really care for that. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to correct this. Now, again, you can see there's still a little bit of the color showing through the Wraithbone, and these are just regular base colors, and you can just simply come through and apply it. And if it's not saturated enough for you, you can always come in and put another layer down. We're also going to do the nails as well of the creature, and I think the teeth as well at the same time. So you can see here, I'm just coming in, cleaning up some of these edges and stuff. Just I don't mind that green mixture, but I'm just kind of going through. And also there's some spots there, again, because I was applying this fairly aggressively. I did not really take my time doing this model. I kind of did this like I was basically just rushing to get it done, or, you know, in the headspace of somebody who might be newer to painting. And so I wanted to show basically a kind of a general application. And you can see here with this Wraithbone, because again, this is the same color as the primer, it's going to basically allow us to correct any of the little areas there. And you can see there's a bunch of areas you're going to notice that obviously I missed, but I mean, that's not the whole point here, right? And again, you can see we're just going to go through and apply to the nails. We're just cleaning those up essentially, because again, if we apply any other colors, that deep dark blue will dominate whatever color we lay there. So we want to kind of create a blank canvas again. And that's the whole point behind this phase of using the Wraithbone paint to clear up and also create some of our highlights. You can see here, like on the teeth, we're making them nice and bright again so that we can apply a color and create some more deeper tones and have a little bit more fun. And I will also apply it to the straps as well around this guy, like the one that runs across his shoulder and his belly and everything like that. So next we're going to come back in with some Iyanden yellow. Now, when I recorded this phase, apparently I missed hitting the record. So here you can see the yellow's been applied right back on top of those areas that I had applied the Wraithbone. You can see like on the belly and everything like that. And again, it clears it right up, hides those mistakes. So you can correct if you have made mistakes and you got a little aggressive and didn't put the color exactly where you wanted it. Next, we're going to come in with some snakebite leather. And again, as I said, I applied it over the straps. So I took that Wraithbone and applied it over the straps. And then really quickly here, a very generous amount into the bristles using a shade wash brush here and basically just laying it in. And of course, again, the beauty of these colors is that you are basically laying a base coat and a shade wash all at the same time. So again, it gives you your black lining around the straps, giving you your separation and such. And as you can see, it just goes by really quick. It's one pass and then bang, it's done. And I was really surprised how easily and like how decent it looks for how little effort we applied here. And so it is a lot of fun. And next, you can see here we applied it to the straps on the tail as well as the rest of the body, all the little gold icons, stuff like that. Next, we're going to come in with some Skeleton Horde from the Citadel Contrast range. This is going to be applied to the teeth and fingernails of the Carnosaur. Again, applying it fairly generously. This stuff does work when you take a fairly generous amount onto the bristles. Kind of if you're used to using the shade washes, where you're pretty much laying a fairly heavy amount to saturate an area, is kind of how we're applying this. And again, so if you're used to using the shade washes, you're going to be fairly comfortable using this stuff and getting the desired end result from these colors. You see, once it's dry, you know, it gives us a nice dirty fingernail look. The teeth look kind of brownish now with some darker color up by the gum line and everything like that. It gives us a nice bit of, visual interest to this guy. Next, we're going to take it a little bit further. We're going to grab some Dorn Yellow. This is the edge color. And we're going to use a large dry brush. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to put a light little dry brush concentrating around the center of each of the little areas of the neck, belly, and tail. So we're not coming in too heavy. We're catching just some of the areas of the face as well. Again, we're not too concerned. Again, I'm just doing this fairly quickly, like we're just getting it done just for the tabletop area. I'm concentrating more color towards the center or the center of the chest, getting a bit of the finger details as well. When we're dry brushing around like this, we're going to try and go against the grain. So as you can see, the lines run obviously up and down to the model. So our brush stroke will be a left to right kind of motion. Again, when we're dry brushing, it's always against the grain. So if the lines are running left, right, your brush stroke will be up, down. And so you can see here, it's relatively straightforward. Again, I'm just applying just a nice little even dry brush, concentrating most of the color again at the centers. Here, I'm not too worried about hitting straps or anything like that. Again, this is just more for demonstration purposes, just to kind of show you guys how you can basically bring a little bit more life and dimension using contrast as a beginning. Next, we're going to use Baharoth Blue. And as you might guess, yes, we're going to use this on the blue areas of the model. So I'm going to use the same dry brush. I did clean it actually and use brush soap and cleaned it before applying this next color, just because I don't like cross-contamination with my colors. And here again, kind of going against the grain in some areas, like the direction of the scales along the spine. I draw the brush kind of back to forward of the model, or left to right as it were, depending on which way I'm holding it. Concentrating a little bit more color on the haunches and the shoulder blades, and of course on the fingers and toes of the model on the high points. I'm not building up too much color. I just really am only looking to capture just the edges. As you can see, they're like on the scales on the spine. You can see that there's just a little edge developing there. And again, you can see I'm just quickly dry brushing. We're not looking to build up too much color. Again, the contrast colors built all that color up already, and all we're looking to do is just bring a little bit more of that detail back out again. And that is essentially it. That is the model. This is a Seraphon Carnosaur, and it's ready to do the rest of the details. Oh, and the gold, and of course I do the gold, but I think we've already seen enough tutorials on using gold. But so there it is. That is the Seraphon Carnosaur contrast paints. Total time of painting this model was only around 40 minutes. Just over about 40 minutes. But that is it. It's as easy as that. Do not be afraid to give it a try, and definitely give these paints a try if you really want to look for a fast solution to a lot of painting problems that you might have. But that is it. Thank you for watching. Happy wargaming.